Sure, everybody. My name's Harry James. The final home game, or at least the final game to where Oklahoma will wear the home jerseys, will be against the TCU HornedFrogs. Senior night, or senior day in Norman. More than likely, it will be the night game because for some reason, after a average or below average season, Gary Patterson always seems to bounce back big time. If he's going to do that again, he's got tons of talent there on campus to help him do it. We'll preview the TCU HornedFrogs 2019 coming up next. Boomer Sooner 1982. Don't go away! TCU pregame show, everybody. My name's Harry James. The next team on our key list, the TCU HornedFrogs from Fort Worth, Texas. They play their home games at Amon G. Carter Stadium. They're in the Cowtown, USA, Fort Worth, Texas. Last year, 7-6 overall. Last year, 5-4 in 4-5 in Big 12 play. 5th or 6th place with Baylor. That's where they finished in the conference. The TCU HornedFrogs, though, did win the head-to-head game with the Baylor Bears, 16-9. The game was played in Waco. Their head coach, Gary Patterson, he's the head coach of the Horned Frogs and has been for many years. We'll get into more of that later, but first, let's take a look at what they have returning from last season. Now, quarterback not really returning from last season, but he's not a bad quarterback in this system. I think that Alex Delton, the Kansas State transfer, has found himself a perfectly good home as a graduate transfer from Kansas State. Last year for the Wildcats, number 16, Alex Delton, fast for 544 yards to go with 2 touchdowns. Did have 2 costly interceptions. A long pass of 72 yards. Averaged 79.1 yards in the air per ball game in 7 games for the Wildcats of Kansas State. And then transferred to TCU. Interleague conference. Interleague trade there went pretty well, if you ask me. Speaking of a guy like that handled everything with great everything, just great poise, great pressure, that is Alex Delton, which he deserves this extra year of eligibility, and he'll get it. He'll play at TCU. He will have to play. He won't have to do it all alone, though. His rushing mates in the backfield, they do include Sasa Alunia and Darius Anderson, a couple of guys from last year that return. Now, Alunia, C.O. Alunia, number 33, 135 carries last year for the Frogs to go with 652 yards on the ground, 6 touchdowns. His longest run was 33 yards. He averaged 48.9 yards on the game per average last year in 13 games. That's how many he played in. Along with number 6, Darius Anderson there to help him out. 124 attempts on carries last year. 598 yards on the ground. 4 touchdowns. Longest run, 93 yards. He averaged last year 54.4 yards on the ground per ball game in 11 games last season for the Frogs of TCU. Now, Alex Delton has some players to get the ball to, including, remember this name, Sooner fans, Jalen Reagor. Remember him from the Big 12 Championship a couple of years ago? And that amazing catch he had to get them actually back in possession to try to get it back in the ball game? Yeah, he's back for a junior year, as is number 4, Tyree Barber. We'll start with the aforementioned Jalen Reagor, 72 catches last year by the end of it, 1,061 yards in the air, 9 touchdowns. His longest catch, 67 yards. He averaged 81.6 yards receiving per ball game last year and played in 13 games. Number 4, Ty Barber, also played really well for TCU last year. In spare time, he averaged 32 receptions per ball game when it's all said and done, 303 yards on the ground, 2 touches. His longest reception, 24 yards out, and averaged 23.3 yards per ball game last year for the Frogs of TCU. Did all that in 13 games. That's offense. But one reason why Gary Patterson is always, and I mean always up for a comeback after a down season, usually because of the way they play defense. And these two guys are amazing on that defense. We'll start with William Garrett, and we'll continue talking about it with Jeff Gladley. We'll start with William Garrett. At the end of last season, finished 72 tackles combined last year, with assisted, 0 forced fumbles recovered, and 0 picks. As the linebacker for TCU, played in 13 games last season. While the defensive and cornerbacks have Jeff Gladley there to help him out, he only had 41 combined tackles with assists last year, but that's not where he made his name. Also didn't make his name on forced fumbles. Fumbles recovered, though. This is where he made a little bit of a name for himself with just 1 fumble recovery. But not only that, had 2 more turnovers forced with 2, not 1, but 2 picks last season as a cornerback for TCU. Gladley last year played in 13 football games. Their head coach, Gary Patterson, Kansas State product, graduated from there in 1981 and has been all about the Frogs at TCU, has been leading at least the head coach realm there since 2000, the longest stinted coach in Big 12 coaching honors. Their coaching record, Patterson has been at TCU for all that time and has added up to, you get ready for this one, guys, 226 games over the last over the last few years since 2000. Combined record 163 and regular 63. 163 and 63. That's an average of about 73 yards, 73% winning percentage. Their bowl games in 17 attempts, 11 and 6. That's a 65% winning clip there. The only 2004 and 2013. Those are the only 2 times that Patterson has not been bowl eligible in 19 seasons. They're in Fort Worth with the Frogs. Division titles under TCU, they don't have any. Remember when they were in the Mountain West and they played a little bit of time in the Conference USA, now in the Big 12. They didn't have divisions then, so they don't have any divisional titles. But they have a chunk load of conference titles. 8. 2 in the WAC. That's the Western Athletic Conference. Won those in back-to-back ones in 99 and 2000. Now, the one in 99, they tied that one with Hawaii and Fresno State. Now, the one in 2000, they tied with UTEP. That's University of Texas El Paso. TCU did win the head-to-head matchup in 2000. 2002 won one on their own right with one conference title from Conference USA. 4 more came in 2005, 09, 2010, and 2011. All 4 of those came in the Mountain West Conference. By the way, none of those were tied. Those were all won outright. The one, though, in 2014 and the most recent one, that was not won outright. They tied for that one in the Big 12. They tied with it with Baylor. Baylor, though, won the head-to-head matchup. Won that game in Waco. But both finished with 1 loss and thus tying for the record. All right, guys, that will wrap this thing up. Next week, we'll preview the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Speaking of that, a big happy birthday to one of my franchise buddies, Madison Morris. Madison, happy birthday, girl. Happy for you. Hope you're enjoying it. Hope you're enjoying your birthday here today. We'll preview your Cowboys next week. But for this week, this has been the TCU preview. You can catch this one and all my other videos on YouTube, Boomer Sooner 1982. Also on Facebook, Harry James Taylor, or I tweet him out at HypeManHarry. All right, guys, that will wrap this thing up. See y'all next weekend for a preview of the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Till then, guys, Boomer Sooner, everybody. I'm out of here. Peace.